In a quiet town surrounded by green hills and narrow streets, there lived a young man named Arman. Arman was known as a kind and friendly person. He smiled easily, trusted people quickly, and believed that honesty meant sharing everything with others. If he had a dream, he talked about it. If he had a problem, he told everyone. If he had a plan for the future, he explained it in detail to anyone who would listen. To Arman, openness felt like strength, but what he didn't know was that sometimes silence is even stronger. Every morning, Arman would sit at a small cafe near his house. The cafe was old but peaceful. Wooden tables, the smell of coffee in the air, and sunlight coming through dusty windows. It was the place where Arman shared most of his ideas. One day he sat with his friends and said excitedly, "Guys, I have a big idea. I want to start my own business." His friends looked at him with curiosity. "What kind of business?" one asked. Arman leaned forward and explained everything. The concept, the strategy, the future plans, even the money he needed. He spoke for nearly an hour. When he finished, his friends nodded politely. "Sounds interesting," one of them said. Another smiled but said nothing. But later that evening, when Arman left the cafe, the same friends began whispering, "Do you really think he can do it?" "I doubt it. He talks big, but starting a business is not easy." Another laughed quietly. "People like him only talk." Arman didn't hear any of this. He went home feeling proud and motivated. The next day he told someone else about his plan, then another person, then another. Soon, almost everyone in the neighborhood knew about Arman's big idea. At first people seemed supportive, but slowly something strange started happening. Some people began giving negative opinions. "You don't have enough money. You don't have experience. What if you fail?" Others started offering advice that confused him. "You should change your idea. No, try something else. You should wait a few years." Arman's mind became full of noise. Every opinion entered his head. Every comment affected his confidence. Within weeks, the dream that once felt clear became blurry. One night, he sat alone in his room staring at a notebook filled with plans. But now the plans didn't feel exciting. They felt heavy. He thought, "Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should stop." And slowly, the dream began to die. Not because it was impossible, but because too many voices had entered Arman's mind. Weeks passed. Arman stopped talking about his business. He stopped working on it, and life returned to normal. But inside his heart, something felt unfinished. One afternoon, Arman decided to take a walk outside the town. He walked for nearly an hour until he reached a quiet hill. There was an old bench under a large tree, and sitting on that bench was an elderly man. The man had silver hair, calm eyes, and a peaceful presence. Arman sat down on the other side of the bench. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Then the old man said gently, "You look like someone carrying a heavy thought." Arman smiled awkwardly. "Is it that obvious?" The old man chuckled. "Sometimes silence speaks louder than words." Arman hesitated, but then he started talking. He told the old man everything, about his dream, about sharing his idea with everyone, about the negative opinions, about losing confidence. When he finished, the old man nodded slowly. Then he asked a simple question. "Why did you tell everyone?" Arman looked confused. "Because they are my friends. I thought they would support me." The old man smiled kindly. "Some people will support you, some will doubt you, and some will quietly hope you fail." Arman frowned. "But why?" The old man looked at the horizon. "Because your ambition reminds them of their fear." Arman stayed silent. The old man continued. "Most people are comfortable with ordinary lives. When someone around them tries to do something bigger, it makes them uncomfortable." Arman thought about his friends' reactions. The old man then said something that Arman would never forget. "Dreams are like seeds. If you dig them out of the soil every day to show everyone, they will never grow. Arman slowly looked up. The old man continued. When a seed is planted, it grows quietly under the ground. No one sees it, no one praises it, no one criticizes it. He paused. But that silence is exactly what allows it to grow. Arman's mind began to understand. The old man leaned back on the bench. Your mistake was not having a dream. Your mistake was exposing it before it became strong. Arman whispered, So what should I do? The old man smiled. Protect your ideas like treasures. He raised one finger. Share your dreams only with people who truly support your growth. Then another finger. And sometimes, the best strategy is silence. The wind moved softly through the leaves. For a long moment, Arman sat quietly. The old man stood up slowly. Before leaving, he said one final thing. Remember this. Not everyone needs to know your plans. Let your results speak instead. Then he walked away down the hill. Arman stayed on the bench for nearly an hour, thinking, reflecting, understanding. That evening he went home and opened his old notebook again. The dream was still there, waiting. But this time, Arman made a different decision. He stopped talking about it. The next morning he returned to the cafe. His friends were there as usual. One of them asked, So, Arman, what happened to your big business idea? Arman simply smiled. Oh, just thinking about things. And he changed the subject, but inside, something had changed. Instead of explaining his plans to people, Arman began working quietly. He studied, he saved money, he researched, he learned from failures. Months passed. No one in the neighborhood knew what he was doing. But slowly, quietly, the seed was growing. 1 year later, something surprising happened. A small store opened near the center of town. It was modern, organized, and filled with products people loved. The owner, Arman, people were shocked. Wait, when did this happen? How did he do it? Even his friends were surprised. One of them said, You never told us you were still working on this. Arman smiled calmly and replied, I stopped talking and started building. The store became successful. Customers came every day. Within 2 years, Arman opened another location, then another. Soon, the young man who once doubted himself became one of the most successful people in the town. But the biggest lesson he learned had nothing to do with money. It was about silence, about understanding that not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every plan needs to be shared. Not every dream needs an audience. Some things grow better in quiet. Years later, Arman returned to the same hill where he met the old man. But the bench was empty. The old man was nowhere to be found. Still, Arman smiled, because the lesson remained. And that lesson is something many people learn too late. The world is full of noise. Everyone has opinions. Everyone has advice. Everyone has judgments. If you listen to every voice, you will lose your own. And that is why the strongest people understand something important. They move quietly. They work privately. They build silently. Then one day, the results speak so loudly that the world finally listens. So remember this simple truth. Not everyone needs access to your thoughts. Not everyone deserves to hear your plans. Protect your dreams. Protect your energy. Protect your vision. Speak less. Work more. And let your success make the noise. Because sometimes, silence is not weakness. Silence is power.